Hey y'all, it's your girl Coach Crystal and welcome. Listen, we're gonna be here for a couple minutes. I want to welcome you into how we start everything that we do at Steps and Stages. One is a lot of things happen before this, and I guarantee a lot of things are going to happen after this, but I promise to be here with you now. Please be here with me now. What we're talking about today is the core of 3V, the Vision, Value, and Voice Conference. And I thought, some of y'all have been doing a lot of Googling. You're hemming and hawing. You're on the fence. You're like, am I coming? Am I not coming? We don't know. But here's what I want to do right now is I want to start checking in with you about how we determine our destiny, and it comes from our core. So I want you to know that this is not just a conference where you come with your notebook and get all the information and hide your notebook in a drawer and you never use any of that stuff again. This is the conference for your growth, not just for the gram. So what we're going to do is we're going to start just showing you a glimpse of the presenters who are going to be there. Sometimes we go to wellness retreats, and sometimes we go to spiritual retreats, and sometimes we go to professional development conferences, and we segment all those parts of ourselves and we leave ourselves out of the equation. But again, this is not that kind of conference. This is more of a reconference, a retreat conference that gets all melded into one. And today I want to introduce you to the Queen of Core, Rhea Patterson, who's going to be starting out each day of the conference with a somatic session of Pilates and integration. So please help me welcome to the stage, Rhea Patterson.
Hey, hey.
Hey.
That's an introduction I could use every morning. You want
right.
to come over?
Yeah, we can record that for you. Welcome the Queen of Core, Rhea Patterson. Da, da, da. Right? I mean, everybody should have a great introduction, right? And so that's what we want to do at the conference, Rhea. We want to introduce people to practical ways to engage and be with themselves and be in the practice. So please tell us a little bit. Well, also, I just want to say every woman who's presenting at this conference has had at least 3 lives. So give them a little background of your 3 lives. So just give them a little bit.
Oh, let's see. Professional dancer, mother, business owner, Broadway performer, commercial actor.
Just a little bit.
I get around.
Yeah, right. So what we thought about when we were talking about this conference is that vision, value, and voice are things that are not stagnant, right? Like your vision may change. It's expansive enough for you to change with it. Your value and your values change depending on what industry you find yourself in. And then the ways that women sometimes either squelch their voice or get louder as they become more of themselves is also a part of this conference. So Rhea, tell us a little bit about how you went from those different iterations of yourself.
Sometimes bravely, sometimes with resistance. But what I found, however I was showing up in those transitions, or when I felt like I wanted to move myself, or the world told me it was time to move, was that I had what I needed in me to meet the moment. And that comes from a lot of stillness, honestly. Being able to take stock of what's happening internally, externally, and say, okay, what is in me to meet this? And there's always something. There's always something. And I love this idea of what did you call it? The core of
3V.
Yes. So a lot of people come to me initially because they want to look a certain way externally. And what they find through working with me is that that's not what we're doing at all. That your sense of self and how you center yourself is a really internal, personal process. It has nothing to do with how you look. It has everything to do with how you feel and how you think about yourself. And that's how we approach it, right? And that it's not about reaching this certain ideal that really is probably nothing to do with who you really want to be. And so slowing down, listening, taking stock, moving from that place is a whole different way to connect with your body. And that's the type of work that I tend to do with people.
It's interesting because I think a lot of women, as they're climbing the success ladder and as they're becoming mothers and as they're kind of falling into the check boxes that say success is what womanhood is, we tend to lose ourselves. And then the body becomes this thing that we have to then get back into shape. Right. So I know a lot of your clients feel the same way, right? Like this idea of core being not just like the thing you're working on to get stronger, but the thing you're integrated right? With to
Mhm.
try to become who you are.
Right.
Tell us a little bit, Rhea, because we're not gonna, I mean, you're gonna see these women at the conference for 3 mornings, right? So
Right.
like, what's the progress they can think about making in 3 sessions with you?
It's mostly awareness. Like I don't want anybody one to be afraid that they're gonna come to the session and feel out of place,
Yeah.
out of body, ignored,
Mhm.
not allowed, not in the right shape to be there, which is a bunch of BS.
Yep.
Because everybody can move, every
Mhm.
single body, whatever it is, who you are that day, will
Yep.
be able to move.
Mhm.
And it's really important to me to find ways to do that. Um, but I want people to take away that like there is always a way to connect your mind and your body in a short amount of time, in over 3 days. Like it doesn't take. We're not looking for necessarily. It is transformative, but it's going to be subtle, and you have to understand and embrace that those little subtle changes build up. Right,
Mhm.
how you connect to your body, how you talk to your body, how you
Talk about your
organize your
body.
body. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
How you
Yeah.
organize your body, right? And that, so that we are organizing it based on our sort of like internal GPS versus like, this is what the world wants me to look like. It's like, not necessarily.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what we want. So, when I think about putting this conference together, when Christy and I started thinking about, okay, we're going to put together a conference for women by women,
Hmm.
we also thought about all of the stipulations and all of the expectations that people have when they come to events like this, right?
Yeah,
So, one, you might go to a session, especially one like this, if you haven't been aware of your body, and you might feel like, oh my God, I suck at that, or I
right,
failed.
right,
But showing up, right, is half the battle.
right.
I mean, it's probably 90% of the battle,
It's
honestly.
all of it.
Right, it's
It's
all of
all
it,
of it.
right, right.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
showing up to the conference to say,
yeah.
"Okay, the beginning of the year inspiration has now
Hmm.
died down. So let
Right,
me go ahead and put a milestone, another marker in the road of this year for me to be able to invest in myself, connect
right.
with my vision, and be in like-minded community." Because the other thing about this, Rhea, and I know you found yourself in several different communities and situations, right?
Hmm.
That we don't always learn from people who look like us.
Right, right.
Right. And so, in this way of like thinking about the body and being open to transformation, how have you, in again, these iterations of your life, challenged yourself to be open to new people?
Oh my goodness. I I am incredibly shy. Number one,
Mhm.
you know this, um, and so showing up for me is really difficult to new people.
Yeah.
So bringing myself and recognizing that the discomfort is part of my journey, right?
Hmm.
And that nothing but good usually comes from it, as long as
Hmm.
I am pretty aware that it is a safe environment. And that is exactly what I intend to build for whoever wants to show up in the mornings, is that it is a very safe, judgment free zone, right, for
Yeah.
people.
Yep.
um and it is not, it's much less about doing something right than it is
Hmm.
just doing it and seeing what your body has to say about it.
Yep. Yep.
That's the point of entry, right?
Mhm.
um but what was your question was to me specifically?
Well, as we show up to people who are different than us, like how do
Yeah.
we even begin that navigation of not only relationship, but just like connection?
Oh, you got to drop the comparison first of all. And
Yeah.
right, I mean,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's usually what gets in the way.
Yeah.
um is that because they don't look like me, they don't know, and I'm not open to receiving information
Hmm. Hmm.
that we've already shut that down. And
Yeah.
so if we can, and I liked what you said in I think it was an earlier live about big the thread versus a threat, right?
Yeah.
That like, if you can just look at this person as another body that has experience being in their skin, that's enough, right?
Hmm.
It doesn't matter what they look like, what they sound like. Let's use that as a thread and then go from there.
Yeah, 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 that's good. I often think that, especially with women, we're taught to compare ourselves so early on in life that that
Mm,
comparison becomes the thing that we think makes us successful, right? Like, let me evaluate the room. And both of us come from a professional dance background where
right.
it is like, oh, I got to assess the room so quickly, figure out if I'm better or
Eyes
worse,
up.
and
Yep.
right, right, and
Hmm.
then basically annihilate the competition.
Right.
right? So,
Yeah.
when we think of it like that, we get in a real mindset of we're either winning or losing.
Right.
And what I have learned in my transformation journey and my self-love journey is that walking the middle ground is really the hardest place to be. Because I
Hmm.
can be judgmental or I can be passive, but to give compassion in the middle for every moment of the day to myself, my body, my people around me, the people I'm working with, that is the hardest thing to do. But
Hmm.
that's the place where we find the most growth.
Right.
Yeah.
And I also think that, by sizing up and being, sort of getting ourselves ready to annihilate another
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
through excellence or whatever it is, what
Mhm.
it does is it takes us away from, like, what is it that I really want, and then actually holding myself accountable to that. Like, this just gives me something to do
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
actually has nothing to do with me,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. 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 Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure you find a lot of that in your practice, right? There are a lot of people who are going to Pilates, going to yoga, and it's because it's something they are thought that they think they should be doing,
Yeah.
not something that's integrated into their being.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do find that, though people who have been with me over time, that has changed for them, which is a
Mhm.
beautiful thing to see,
Yeah.
right? That they start to realize that, like, oh, this is about something different,
Mhm. Yeah.
because the work has to get deeper.
Yeah. The work has to get deeper, right? If we're
Hmm.
going to go deeper, right? Right.
Right. Right.
So, again, I want to say to people, this is not the conference for you to fill up your notebook. It's the
Hmm.
conference for you to fill up you, right? And
Yeah.
so we're going to start in the morning with the Queen of Core, Rhea Patterson. You come into the room with, with this specialist, right? So someone who's not there to try to build up a new clientele, but to like
Mm-mm.
build up the inner you, right? Like
Hmm.
we've chosen these facilitators very carefully. We are not
Right.
here with these big corporate sponsors behind us trying to make sure that you buy something or get something. We're here to make sure you get more of you, right?
Hmm.
So starting off with that time that maybe you don't often give yourself in the morning,
Right.
right?
Right.
And then allowing you to move from that space into a breakfast that's already made for you.
Right.
I know this sounds silly, but
No.
for women who build and thrive all day, like decision fatigue is real.
Hmm.
So we want to make sure that you have time to go from Pilates to breakfast and then go back and get dressed
Right.
and come back down and let's do some work and then take a break because lunch is going to be there. And then let's do a little more work. And then you get some choice in the afternoon about where you want to specialize your time. Or you may have met someone who you really want to connect with, and that's your time to connect with a new person who can really invest and be your partner in believing.
And
So,
I would be really curious to know how people feel having those moments of nourishment
mm,
integrated into their day, right?
yeah,
Because it's really easy for us to sit in, a seminar with our notebooks and cram away, right? But what does it feel like over the course of consecutive days to
yeah.
actually feed yourself first,
Hmm.
right? And then go and do those things. I'd be really curious to hear how that's different for people.
Yeah, yeah. And I know
Yeah.
for a lot of us, that's scary because you're used to
Yeah.
going to the conference
Go.
and getting the notes, and nobody has to know
Yeah.
you. They just read your name tag. But like,
Yep.
this
Me,
is
my notebook, and the coffee. That's all I need.
right. No, this is all of you. I love it. Right,
Uh-huh.
right, right. So
Uh-huh.
it is going to be interesting, Rhea, to see how
Yeah.
people respond after this different type of protocol.
Right.
So we're excited to have you. If you don't have your tickets, y'all get your tickets,
Please.
3vwomen.com. It's January 15th, for God's sakes. Don't keep delaying yourself and
Mhm.
dedicating yourself to the mess. Like it's going to happen anyway. That other stuff
The
is going to
mess is
keep.
always there.
The mess is always
Always there.
there. It's
Mhm.
always there. Someone's always needing you. There's always another email, but there is not always another opportunity to invest in your holistic growth. So we hope to see you in Philly, March 9th through 12th. It's 3vwomen.com. Right after this, I'll throw up the QR code and you can jump over and grab your tickets. But don't miss this opportunity to be fully engaged in who you are. Queen of Core, Rhea Patterson. Go follow her on all the socials. We'll be in touch. Rhea, thank you so much for taking
Thank
our
you.
invitation and for being with us today. I love you. I can't wait to
I
be in
love you
class.
back.
I'm gonna be there
I
too,
can't
y'all.
wait. Yeah.
I mean, and yeah, she gets a little hardcore sometimes, but she gives levels. Okay, it's levels to this, right?
I'm gonna ease into it.
I'm gonna be
It's gonna
right
be
in there
something
with
for
y'all,
everybody.
begging for my life too. Amen. Amen. We'll see you March 9th through 12th. It's 3V. We'll see you soon.